How's it going, guys? Just wanted to do a review on the new Smith Wesson 380 Bodyguard MP that they have launched. Wanted to go over some details about it, the positives, the negatives, in regards to the actual handgun for those of you that are thinking of purchasing a small 9 or a 380 for concealed carry. I'm going to go over everything in regards to this handgun. Now, this is my personal handgun. I own this one. Now, in regards to the actual gun itself, a couple of things that I look for when looking for an actual handgun to carry for concealed carry. Obviously, one is size, two, the caliber, three is the trigger pull, four, does it actually have sights that are usable, and those are going to be some of the biggest things for me. Ergonomics, how does it feel in my hand? Is it comfortable to hold? Can I get a good grip on it? All these things are things that you're going to want to think about when you're purchasing your own 380 or 9mm or 40, whatever you want to carry for concealed carry. I've seen people carry 1911s. They're just not as easy to do so. In regards to the Smith & Wesson 380, I'm going to start out with basically one thing that I really like. Like the previous 380 Bodyguard that they had before this one, they still have that slide lock. That's an excellent feature for those of you that are looking in a gun for concealed carry or a handgun period. Slide lock is important. One, it's a safety feature because you can distinguish when the actual handgun is empty because there's nothing left in the actual chamber. The magazine is empty. Two, if you are engaging a threat in a defensive situation, you're going to know when you need to load another magazine into the handgun because this slide is going to lock back. So that's another thing that I thought was really, really important. They actually went away from doing the laser on this MP version, which I'm so grateful for because I personally, guys, I think a laser is worthless. Unless you're trained in it, unless you're in the military and it's standard issued on your guys' weapon systems, I think a laser on a concealed carry handgun is pointless. Coming from a law enforcement background, spending countless hours at the range being trained by all sorts of trainers and SWAT and whatnot, when are you ever going to have time to engage a laser in a defensive situation, knowing that most defensive situations occur within a 21 foot or less distance? When are you going to have time to engage the laser? If you know anything about 21 feet as far as how long it takes to cover that, let me give you an example. In training, they taught us that an individual with a knife, not a handgun, but a knife, can cover 21 feet before you can draw your handgun out of your holster when you're on patrol. They usually can cover 21 feet before you can even get your firearm out. So why would you have a laser on a handgun when a defensive situation is going to occur? You're not going to have time to react and say, let me engage the laser on you, don't shoot or don't stab me, hold on a second. You're not going to have time for that. It's going to be basically draw the gun out of your holster, obviously get a good grip. Trigger pull is going to be key, trigger control, sight alignment, target acquisition, all these things are going to come into play. You want to practice all these things, but when it comes down to it, it's really going to be a point and shoot situation. So any handgun that you carry for concealed carry, you want to become extremely proficient in that handgun or that weapon system, because that's going to be basically what's going to determine if it's going to save your life if you ever encounter a defensive situation or a threat. But back to the gun. So we've talked about the sights. They actually have real sights on them that you can adjust for wind and elevation. Nice feature in compared to other 380 models. They have the slide lock. You got your magazine release. Now the magazine release, for those of you that are lefty like me, is not ambidextrous, so you're not going to be able to move the mag release like you can on the Glock 26 Gen 4 to the other side if you're a lefty. I'm a lefty, and I engage this mag release with my middle finger on my left hand, drop the magazine, put another one in there pretty quickly. It's very easy to do if you practice. Now you have a safety as well right here. Now this weapon has been inspected prior to this video. There are no rounds in the chamber. It's been safety checked. But it does have a safety switch, an external safety that you can engage if you want to, and you can carry, the handgun with the safety on. Now, my opinion on the safety is pretty similar to my opinion on the laser. If you're carrying your concealed weapon or your weapon with you, you're not going to probably have time to engage that safety if you're in a life threatening situation. To be honest with you, they teach at the academy as well. Well, first of all, we carried Glocks when we were at my department, and that's just standard issue through the department. We carried Glocks. As you know, Glocks have the trigger safety, but that's it, no external safeties. So I got very comfortable and very used to that. I don't think that the safety is something that I would ever use on this handgun, because if I'm in a situation where I have to defend myself, I have to defend my family, or a threat engages someone in the public and I have the opportunity to prevent that threat from, taking innocent lives or causing great bodily harm to someone, and it's justified in engaging that threat, you're not going to have time to snap that safety down, because your brain's going to be going 200 miles an hour. And as we all know, or those of you that come from a law enforcement background, military background, unless you got extensive training and habit and repetition in something, you're not going to remember that safety being on. And so when you go to pull that trigger, that could be the difference between life and death for you or someone else, if you forget that safety's on and you can't actually engage that threat. So I don't ever use the safety on this handgun, but it is a feature that Smith & Wesson has made available to those that want to have that safety on there when they're carrying. When I personally carry for conceal, I have one loaded in the chamber and I have the safety off. And the reason why is just because that's how I practice, that's how I train. And the other thing is, for those of you that ask about the trigger pull on this weapon is pretty heavy. If you compare it to a Glock has about a 5 to 5.5 pound trigger pull. This weapon here has about an 8 to almost 9 pound trigger pull. That's pretty heavy. You're not going to have an accidental discharge or an accidental fire from this handgun unless you're pulling the trigger. For those of you that don't like heavy trigger pulls, that might be something you want to think about when looking at this gun. I think Smith & Wesson has made it that way, for one, a safety feature. For those of you that are planning on carrying one in the chamber with the safety down, not engaged, and if you have it in your pocket, the last thing you want to do is have a super light trigger pull on the trigger and actually have an accidental discharge in your pocket if you're pocket carrying, or inside the waistband. Or for those of you that are female and that carry a bag or a purse, have someone reach in your bag, a piece of chapstick or a stick of chapstick gets stuck between the trigger and the trigger guard, and it actually maybe has an accidental discharge. Any of those things. So I think Smith & Wesson has made it for a reason. The other thing is, as you know, this handgun is double action hammer fired. So it's double action hammer fired. So it's going to have a heavier trigger pull than a striker fired handgun such as the Glock. That's just the nature of the beast. But that didn't deter me from actually looking into this, doing my own research on it, taking it to the range, seeing how I liked it, seeing how proficient I was. If you're kind of on the fence as to what to get, do I get a Glock 42 380? Do I get a Glock 26 Gen 4? Do I get a Glock 27? That's 40 cal. Do I get a Smith & Wesson? Do I get the LCP 380? Take it to the range. If you're fortunate enough to live in an area that has a gun shop that will actually let you test shoot the actual gun at possibly an indoor range that they may have, like I have here in my town, or in my city, then do that. That's going to be the best option for you. I'm a true advocate of don't buy something unless you know how it works or how it shoots when it comes to handguns. But as far as the trigger pull, I mean, that's something that you're going to be able to experience on your own. To be honest with you, it's not an issue for me. I can go from my Glock 26 Gen 4 to this while I'm at the range that same day and shoot groups just as accurately, almost with both guns. Yes, I am more accurate with the Glock 26 because it is a larger gun. It fits my hand better. I have bigger hands, so it fits my hand better. It has a lighter trigger pull. It actually has legitimate sights that are very efficient and effective. And it's striker fired, and I'm more comfortable with that. That's what I carried for years. Where the Smith & Wesson is a little bit different. But for a close situation, your adrenaline's going to be going. It's going to be basically point and shoot. You're not going to really be, let me get my three dots up and whatnot. It's going to be a point and shoot situation if you're encountering a threat within a very close proximity of 3 to 5 feet. And that's just going to be muscle memory and whatnot that you need to practice at the range, what I'll do at the range is I'll actually carry my 380 with me on an inside the waistband holster, as you see here, and I will simulate situations after situations where it requires me to draw my handgun out, get good sight alignment, sight picture, good trigger pull, trigger control, target acquisition, and I'll actually engage that target and practice that way. And I'll put my body and my mind under stress so that I can kind of repeat that over and over again to get into the habit. Like